All righty. All righty. I can't even see the chat. Look at this.
Here it comes.
Let's see. All righty. I don't know what kind of issues YouTube might be having or we. I don't know. I don't even know. Let's see if this works this time. And hopefully I can get this going. Apparently, a few other YouTubers, I checked a few other channels that I know. Apparently, they had some issues. Guess what? I'll just keep talking. Obviously, we were talking about LSU recruiting and all those different things. And to me, this is the most important thing whenever you look at just anything. There was a question from Marcus that about the college football playoff and how does it look, Reed? I'm trying my best to let everyone know. Let me get this on here. And Marcus had a question. I'm gonna wait until Marcus Sullivan is back in here because he had a very good question about the college football playoff. And yeah, I'm gonna wait till he gets back in here. So obviously, Reed, it's me, you, and Justin, and a few others. Look, this is the most important thing. And guys, if you know any of the other people that were in the chat, feel free to send them the link. Spence G, what's good, baby? So this is the most important thing for me. Okay, and it could be a little bit different for some of you, but when I look at LSU's recruiting right now, and I look at the LSU offensive line recruiting, and I'm learning about the kid from Pineville, and I'm learning about all these other offensive linemen that they may go after. I always stand by what I say. If you recruit in the top 10 nationally, you have a chance to go to the college football playoff each and every season. And to me, that's, the most important thing whenever you're looking at potential college football playoff rosters. And obviously this roster is going to be really good. I do want to get to this point that I found to be really fascinating is you look back at the 2007 national championship team, and yes, they had 2 losses, but they were still really good. That team did not have a single NFL Pro Bowler on the team. Obviously, now the 2019 team was so good, they already have an NFL Pro Bowler as a rookie in Justin Jefferson. But you go back to that 2017, and they were a bunch of experienced guys that weren't necessarily NFL superstars, but they came back and they were very experienced, and they're very much kind of like the roster now. The one thing that concerns me is that team was really smart. And yes, they fell behind a lot of games and they had crazy comebacks, but because they were so experienced and because they had such high football IQ, I strongly believe that is part of why that team became the team that ended up winning a national championship, because that season they had 4 or 5, 6 games where they were down by double digits and they still ended up winning the national championship. We got to read here. Cam Wire, stardom. I do like Cam Wire a lot. And this would actually be my starting offensive line next season. My starting offensive line from left to right would be Dare Rosenthal at left tackle. At left guard, I would have Ed Ingram. And then at center, I would have Liam Shanahan. Then at right guard, I would have Cam Wire and Austin Deculus at right tackle. Or I would be open to switching the two of them, Austin Deculus at guard and Cam Wire at right tackle. I was really impressed with Cam Wire at right tackle against Ole Miss and Florida. And this was a position he had not yet played. And in the 2 games he played, he was better than Chasen Hines, who started at that position the entire season. So, I would be open to Cam Wire at right guard. I really would. So yeah, what's funny, Reed, is I look at someone like Cam Wire, and I say this all the time. can he play an entire season? Because last season, it wasn't on him. It wasn't it wasn't the absolute craziest thing in the world for Cam Wire to play just one game here and one game there. But if he were to get a starter's job over any of the other guys that have come back, how would the room react to that? How would the team react to that? How would he react to that? And as you guys know, I cheer for Louisiana 3 stars, Cam Wire, a right guard, Gonzales, Louisiana. I just think that would be a great fit for Louisiana overall. I like it when 3 stars work their way. It does mean a little. I wouldn't say it means more to them, but there is something to that because if you are a 3-star, you're not guaranteed an LSU offer. In fact, a lot of 4 stars aren't guaranteed LSU offers, which is really crazy when you think about it. And Cam Wire could definitely step up. Spence says, what about Anthony Bradford at right guard? I would certainly be open to that as well. Obviously, that's someone that Ed Orgeron has found to be very interesting. To me, though, right guard now has as much to do with speed and smarts as it does with brute strength. Obviously, Anthony Bradford's a huge human being, but can he pick up blitzes? That's something Chasen Hines really struggled with last season. So we'll see about that. Jesse says, do you think any of the freshmen will play on the offensive line? And Jesse, the best way for me to respond to that is I hope not. You look at some of the great true freshman LSU offensive linemen. Obviously, Andrew Whitworth started all 4 seasons. Simon Black started all 4 seasons. So yeah, it's very interesting. Let's see. DM. Who is DM? Or did you send me a DM? Let's see. I like Big Bradford. Yeah. Let's see. What's up, Chauncey? But that's the key thing. No, Esteban. It was tripping for me too. I had to end it. I don't know exactly what happened to the live stream earlier, but something happened. No. It was not your internet. There was a power surge. I think next door, and it booted me out. And then I saw some other YouTubers struggling, I guess you could say. I know a lot of YouTubers live stream on Saturday nights, but some of them had, just fine live stream stuff. So the best thing you could do is obviously hit the thumbs up button and keep watching. I'm sorry. I really am sorry about that. But yeah, it was tripping. And I hate it because someone sent a super chat, and I'm not sure if they have found the new link yet. It wasn't Marcus Bennett. It was Marcus Sullivan. So I'm waiting on him to find the live stream. And I hate that if he did move on with this evening, I didn't get a chance to answer his question because it was about the college football playoff. So you boosted the neighbor Wi-Fi. Esteban, I wish I could do that. My Wi-Fi bill, and that's the thing that really bothers me, is that I have to pay more for great Wi-Fi signal a month for upload speed to the videos I do and just, live stream. And, this is the thing I look forward to the most is Tuesday nights and Saturday nights getting to hang out with you. And here's the thing. Next Saturday, it's going to be kind of weird. We will try our best to do a live stream next Saturday night. I will be out of town. I'll be in Alabama, of all places. And I actually do want to do a live stream next Saturday night. I got to check with Haley on that because I'm going to meet some of her extended family for the first time. And I've met her, most of all, entire family. But, whenever you're going to somewhere for the first time, I'm going to be in Fairhope, Alabama. What's up, Mr. Big Boy for Life? You know what, Jesse? We have a lot of Alabama viewers. I don't know if Big Al is back in here or not. But yeah, I know. Yeah, you say that though, but you think about some of the great LSU players from Alabama. You think about Quan Alexander. You think about Jamarcus Russell. You think about Neil Farrell. So yeah, LSU. We've had a lot of great Bama fans, and yeah, Alabama, the state is not bad. It's not bad at all. But yeah, it's Boots at the neighbor. That is pretty funny. Yeah, I had to go next door and say, hey, tell your kids to quit streaming. I need more bandwidth over there. Oh, man. Quan Alexander, exactly. Highest rated player in that class. I love me some Quan Alexander. I wrote a lot about Quan Alexander when I was at Dig magazine, and that was crazy. Right. Thank you for that super chat. That obviously makes me happy. I take this stuff. So, I mean, obviously when I'm on the camera, I am very jovial. I'm very relaxed. But when I'm off camera, I am working my tail off, looking up stats, looking up different things. So yeah, are 5 hours bad for you? I drink them every live stream. I think it keeps me hype, Esteban. What if I just started just going nuts? But yeah, I think about this, and I really do mean this. Okay, and this is gonna sound wild, but I kind of like having Alabama be in the West, and I understand that sounds weird, but this is why I like it, because when you do beat them, it is an act of God because they are so good. And you have to admit that 2019 win, I had more anxiety about the 2019 win than I did for the Clemson game. Even when we were down 17-7, I had more anxiety. Now, I'll tell you this. You want to know, and Rai, obviously you get to pick the topic. Do you guys want to know the one time I was going nuts during an LSU game? The one time I went nuts more so than anything else I've ever gone nuts about was when on 4th and 1, punting with Joe Burrow and Clyde Edwards-Helaire on Alabama's 42-yard line. And I know we were up by 20, but Joe and Clyde just had a ridiculous play. Clyde had a crappy spot. And the fact that we didn't just go for it, punting allowed Alabama to get back into the game. And if we go for it and dagger them right there, it's game over. And I understand it's a little greedy to say that I wanted to blow out Alabama, but this is why it frustrates me. Okay. It's that, yes, I don't care. We won the game, but it does frustrate me to a certain extent because Alabama fans, they always do this. The one time you beat us, you only beat us by 5. Shut up. Shut up. I wish we would have beaten them by 20, just so we don't have to hear that. Roll Tide, what F you. Ed Orgeron made up for that punting mistake by saying that, though. It was great. Now, Alabama, of course, laid it on us the next season, and Nick Saban did not let up. Well, he kind of did in the second half, but still. Let's see here. We say out of Mr. Big Boy for Life. Bless, what's going on overseas? Chauncey says John Trey opposite Kayshawn. Achiki says, sorry, I'm late. Yeah, I know, Jesse. And that last touchdown, once again, the game wasn't close. That game was not close. I'm sorry. It was not close. So, yeah. It was a 5-point game, but in actuality, it wasn't close. The fact that Alabama, they converted so many 4th downs to even get that score close. And you look at their touchdowns in the first half, one was on a trick play and the other was on a punt return where if Racey McMath would have just not let up and just blown Jalen Waddle out, that punt return probably never happens. But yeah, we only had 2 big lucky breaks in that game. Of course, the Alabama punter fumbling and Tua fumbling on his own accord going into the goal line. But other than that, we dominated that game. Okay, so let's go to Rai here. Do you think Major Burns is a new nickel now? How much do you think he'll play this year, if not the next season? So Look, can Major Burns play the nickel? Obviously, the first thing is, can Major Burns play at all? This isn't your normal transfer where we have a decent amount of film on how good they may be. So this isn't Liam Shanahan coming over because Liam Shanahan played a lot at Harvard. This isn't Jabril Cox coming over because Jabril Cox played a lot at North Dakota State. Or you look at some of the other transfers. Obviously, we hadn't seen Joe Burrow really play. We hadn't seen a few other transfers really play. But that does make it a little different because Major Burns is coming over as a guy that has no real defensive back tape that we've seen. And look, for good reason. Georgia's secondary was arguably the best in the country last season. They were really good. So, yeah, I look at that. I look at that Rai as the first thing is that we don't know about Major Burns. Now, as we pointed out plenty of times, LSU did not handle the Major Burns thing correctly. Now, I've heard different things. I heard that there was some people at LSU that were questioning if Major Burns was having some regression. And contrary to popular belief, there are high school recruits that have regression, that go from their junior season to their senior season and they regress. A perfect example of this, and this is easily the most perfect example, and I know you're just joining us, Chauncey and a few others, but we were touching on this in the other live stream, is that the one thing you have to keep in mind is not all players sustain their success. Now, more often than not, if you're exceptional as a sophomore, you're at the very least going to be very good as a junior. The same thing is true in high school. So Anthony Jennings is an excellent example of this. His junior season, where he played high school football, he was phenomenal. He was 5-1. He missed the first 6 games, and in that 5-1, he had put up 19 touchdowns and a bunch of rushing stats, and then a ton of offers rolled in. But then you go look at Anthony Jennings, his senior season of high school football, and his stats just weren't as good. In fact, I was trying to look up the high school statistics of all the high school quarterbacks to see if there was a trend, and it was hard to pick up where Anthony Jennings' senior stats were. All I know is, based on what I read on Max Preps, he played 6 games but only had 8 touchdowns, which is actually a low amount for a high school 4-star quarterback. So what I heard from someone was Major Burns had some regression as a player, and that happens sometimes. But even then, he was a top 200 defensive back in Baton Rouge. LSU should have just signed him when he wanted to early enroll. He was hungry to be a Tiger, but for whatever reason, we can't really speculate now until we actually hear from Major Burns or Coach Coach Ed Orgeron. But bottom line is, he's here now. The thing is, obviously, we don't have a whole lot of tape. I'm not sure if he's going to be ready to play this season. Even if he was at LSU, he might not have even been a year 2 guy. He might have been more of a year 3 guy. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. What's up, Big Al? I was hoping you found it back. Danny, thoughts on the Nichols transfer, freshman All-American? That's a good question, King Ulysses. The Pig. I love that nickname, Pig. Obviously, I saw a few other elite players tweet about that. You know what's interesting, King Ulysses? I just don't know a whole lot. Now, obviously, LSU picked up a Nichols transfer and Darren Evans. I just don't know a whole lot about him at all. I don't even know what exactly position he's going to play. What I can tell you, though, is there are some people really excited about that, King Ulysses. So sometimes I go to you for questions. Let me know what you think about him. Mr. Big Boy for Life says, personally, I think Langlois Ryan will be better long-term than Burns. Let's see. Langlois and Ryan are Stelz and Adams 2.0. Let's see. Let's see. I played at Mandeville, and Alan Risher played at Salmon in the late 70s. There you go, Big Al. Carver says Burns will play a lot this season. So, yeah, to finish my thought on this, Ryan, once again, thanks for your super chat. Yeah, I think Major Burns will get his opportunity to play the nickel. And I do believe he'll get his opportunity to play some safety and some sub packages as well. This is also very interesting. You go back to the 2019 defense, and remember, this was Dave Aranda who recommended Durante Jones. And what I think we could see is Durante doing some Aranda concepts now that Durante's at LSU. One thing Dave Aranda did a lot more of was he substituted his defensive backs more than we probably would think. Obviously, because Grant Delpit was hobbled. But as the season moved along, Dave Aranda went away from a traditional pass rush. So what he changed his defense to on second and long and third and long was he would put Marcel Brooks and Devon Clark in at defensive tackle and defensive end. And they would blitz those guys from different angles, and it would work. And what they would do also is they would get more safeties on the field. So Cam Lewis played some in 2019. Eric Monroe played a lot in 2019, in particular that Auburn game. We just don't really remember it because obviously, Jacoby and Grant were the two safeties we're going to remember from that team. So yeah, defensive backs come in and out of the game more often. And something else to keep in mind is now that these routes that receivers run are so complex, and LSU loves to run a lot of two-man under, that's a lot of sprinting. That's a lot of running across the field. So Major Burns is going to play. He's going to get his chance. He's going to play. And look, I also don't think you should have burned a slot on someone that you're not actually going to see play. So we'll see what happens. But Rai, thank you so much for the super chat. And yeah, do I think Major Burns can start? What I think LSU's best secondary would look like. This is how I would line up LSU secondary in a perfect world. I would have Jay Ward playing the slot. I think he would be the best slot corner on this team, outside of course, Stingley or Ricks, but they're outside corners. So, can Stingley or Ricks play the slot? They're obviously athletic enough to do so. But I think Jay Ward is the best slot corner on this team. I saw some really good reps from him at that position, in particular one versus Florida that we're going to do a film study on pretty soon. I think Jay Ward can be an excellent slot corner. That's why I had him listed as the starter at slot corner. But, I have to give Cordell Flott another shot. I know it's the easy thing to do to just trash this guy. And, for good reason. He wasn't that great. But I do think some of his struggles were on his lack of communication with Derek Stingley. And I think what happened was Cordell Flott ran into Stingley so much last season on these crossers that it kind of shook his confidence. And there was a few snaps where he just flat out blew coverage. And there was a few snaps where, he just looked so overmatched to the point where I'm like, this guy just has no confidence in himself right now. So, yeah. Also, I do agree. And Rai, this is a really good point from King Ulysses. I would not play Dwight McGlothern in the slot. That is not his game. And here's the thing, and I think we kind of think this could be the case, but not every defensive back can play all the positions. And I don't think Dwight McGlothern is a slot corner. But yeah, if Dwight McGlothern's going to play, I think I would prefer him to be an outside corner. So we'll see. Yeah, Bless, this was interesting. Can Stingley cover quick slants now because teams are giving him fits? It wasn't a good season for Sting last season. And obviously some of that's injury. Obviously some of that is, championship hangover. I do believe that that was a thing, especially for a guy that accomplished everything you could possibly accomplish as a true freshman. Oh, thank you so much, baby. Thank you for the bench. Oh, man, that is a strong punch. Oh, my God.
You can't drink it?
I can't. Oh, my God. This is elementary school halftime.
Here, give me some water. I'll pour some water.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, baby, it's fine. Have you ever taken a sip of punch so strong? I feel like my arteries are clogging. I know, but it was strong. It wasn't strong. It was strong with a K. That is elementary school recess punch strong. That was thicker than the chocolate milk with your rectangle pizza in the high school cafeteria, like thick. Mix that with Popeye's chicken biscuit thick. Oh, man.
Now try it.
Oh, jungle juice thick. You remember the who remembers the jungle juice, Chris?
Right now, I diluted it a little bit. Is that better?
That's better.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I think she was just testing me. I lost 5 viewers during that time. But I guess this isn't a pro jungle juice crowd. That's not my crowd. Big Al remembers the jungle juice days. Okay, Reed. All right. Give me flats. Give me facts why McLaughlin can't cover the slot. Well, he can cover the slot. It's that I don't want him to be the slot corner. Now, you go back to the Florida game. 2 plays. He got burned really bad out of the slot. All right. Let me remember the time and situation. So we're up 27-17, and he is lined up in the slot. Florida has a 2nd and 26, I believe, from their own 35-yard line. He's lined up over the slot over Trevon Grimes. Florida's on their own 35-yard line, which is different than being in plus territory where you want to play more aggressive to keep the team out of the field goal range. So when they're on their own 35-yard line, you want to play more conservative because you don't want to get beat deep. A 10-yard completion is okay because it's still it would be a 3rd and 16. So what happens? McLaughlin, even though he had safety help over the top from Mohampton, he allowed Trevon Grimes out of the slot to just run right by him, and Kyle Trask completed the pass. And I don't remember the score. I was studying this play not too long ago, and that is something you don't want to do. And Ward did a better job in the slot covering Kadarius Toney when they lined him up in the backfield. Now, some of that is matching up and, flipping coverage and all that. And the technical stuff can get difficult, but he wasn't as good there as he was on his reps on the outside. Now, that doesn't mean he can't start. That doesn't mean he can't be successful. It's just some guys are better in the slot than they are on the outside and vice versa. So, yeah, I wouldn't feel overly comfortable with him there. I think he's more of an outside, bigger corner or a safety. Now, once again, Eric Crocker or Michael Felder could do a better job explaining this, but, I do think McLaughlin is going to play a lot next season. I really do. But yeah, Bo Pulini. But that wasn't a criticism. This isn't a criticism of McLaughlin. It's just he is better served on the outside. And I think LSU's best secondary, I think with the most talent on the field and you factor in experience, is Todd Harris and Jay Ward at safety. And then Ricks at the slot, and then McLaughlin and Stingley on the outside. And guess what? There's a lot of similarities with the positions. But, the slot takes some time to getting used to. And it's strange because, Kerry Vincent wasn't the same player at the beginning of the season as he was at the end of the season, where he was playing at as high of a level as he could play. So, yeah, it's pretty interesting. What's up, TPVN? Welcome to the chat. Yeah, and Reed, Jay Ward's Arkansas game was bad until the end. where the final drive he made 2 big plays. Granted, I think we kind of sort of underrate Arkansas's wide receivers last season. They were dope, and they're going to be really good this season, even though they did lose Mike Woods. Let me try and get Marcus back on here because he did drop a nice cash app, and that was he asked a question about playoffs, the college football playoffs expanding. 3D the champ, LSU Tigers, New Orleans Saints. I love it. It's a great name. Yeah, Justin, they're good. They're really good. But they did lose Mike Woods. But Treylon Burks is a beast, and he could be the best receiver in the SEC. It's him or Kayshawn, either one of those two. And Perkins is probably better than both of them, but he got hurt. So, yeah. And I agree with Kane. I do think, and I'm not saying anyone that has, criticized Bo Pelini on this chat is doing this, but I do think this is important. Look, was Bo Pelini great last season? Obviously not. But I do think it can get a little too convenient to just blame everything on Bo Pelini. And this is what I hope Ed Orgeron and the staff, and we'll get to John Mechie in a second. I do think it is going to be interesting to see him now as a number 1 option. So, yeah, I really hope the LSU coaching staff and the LSU powers that be aren't just saying, look, these new coaches are the answer and we could just move on. There were a lot of little things LSU did not do well last season that has very little to do with experience. It has more to do with just basic football IQ, right? So here's a good example of this. You look at the end of the Mississippi State game. Now, I hope next season LSU is not down by 10 points with less than a minute remaining. But if you are down by 10 points with less than a minute remaining and you have no timeouts like LSU was in that situation, you've got to kick a field goal when you get in the field goal range, okay? Especially when the defenders are playing back. Got to kick a field goal so you can, at the very least, make it a 2-possession game, especially if there's 20 seconds left, because you need to cut it to a 1-possession game so you can at least have a shot at getting an onside kick, but we didn't do that. It's interesting because, that's just, a communication error. There should have been someone that said, hey, we need to do this now or else we're not going to give ourselves a chance at a Hail Mary and whatnot. And I do think we punted a little too much on 4th down last season. I do think coaches next season, as offensive players have gotten better, as more and more rules are used against the defense now and are in the offense's favor, I think teams that are aggressive more on 4th down will win football games. We don't tend to talk about this all this much, but the Ole Miss game was changed last season because we went for it on 4th down when we were in field goal range. And we converted touchdowns, and that helped us build a lead. So, are we going to be more aggressive on 4th down next season? And as much as we talk about defense, offense wins your games now. The greatest coach of all time, Nick Saban, just had a really good expose on this with high school coaches. And it was a viral clip about like a month or so ago talking about how different the game was and how he needed to evolve. Ultimately, this is going to come down to Jake Peetz getting us back to where we need to be offensively. And obviously, the first thing Jake Peetz is going to have to do is figure out who their quarterback is going to be. So yeah, we'll see. Yeah, Danny, it was simple. We should have run way more zone. Dude, Bo was bad when they won the Natty, and they kept putting McCray in the side and letting Kentucky kill him. But no, y'all said I decided to use one game. Yeah. Well, no. And Reed, you are right. You are right. But it's more than just Bo Pelini. Let's see here. Let's see more. LSU fan, I guess Stingley is not playing on offense in 2021. Do you know anything about that possibility? Okay, let's cover this. I'm going to do a video on this topic, and LSU fan, I'm going to leave some of the stuff out for that video, and we will we'll cover it when that happens. Okay, so let's talk about defense and offense and playing both ways. So the last great two-way player in the NFL was what? Deion Sanders, was that it? So I'll get back to that in a second. Rai is hooking us up with the super chat tonight. My next topic is what position could be taken by a true freshman this season? Like if there had to be at least one. Okay. Great question by Rai. And I think the true freshman that has, I'm going to go through a few names here. I don't think a true freshman will find his way on the starting defensive line, not named Mason Smith. I think Mason Smith has a pretty good shot at moving his way up the depth chart, but the defensive tackles ahead of him are really good. Most notably, Jaquelin Roy. So yeah, I think that would be a little bit of a stretch. As far as a starter is concerned, let's go to the defense. I don't think there's going to be any true freshman starting linebackers on defense. So the next position, definitely no corners, definitely no one in the slot. But Derek Davis Jr., Sage Ryan, and Matthew Langlois have a decent shot. More so Sage Ryan than the other two. Here's the deal with Sage Ryan, though. You go look at what he did at LCA, and most of what he did at LCA was play offense. And that was a lower classification in Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, Louisiana Christian Academy. So, it's not as big as, let's say, Catholic High or St. Thomas More or something like that. So that doesn't mean it's not competitive. I mean, LCA beat Arch Manning and Isidore Newman in the semifinals in New Orleans to get to the state championship game, but they did so without Sage Ryan. And I'm not saying they were better without him. My point is Sage Ryan was hurt at the end of last season for LCA. And you get to this point, Sage Ryan, who wasn't an early enrollee, who was more involved on offense at LCA, if I'm not mistaken. He did play defense. He played both ways. He's excellent. So it's going to be steep for him to just start. But I do think there is an avenue for him to do so. And then year 2 and year 3, he become a permanent starter. Right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball. I don't think a true freshman will start at running back, even though I do like Armani Goodwin and Corey Kiner a lot. I think Armani Goodwin and Corey Kiner have higher ceilings than pretty much any of the running backs that LSU currently has right now, based on what we've seen from them so far, even though Kevontre Bradford's Ole Miss was really good. And then we go on the offensive line. This was a question before our live stream cut out a few minutes ago. Could we see a true freshman start on the offensive line? Gary Dellinger, no. Kimo McNeely, no. So, and you don't want true freshmen starting on the offensive line. Their bodies aren't ready. And then at quarterback, Garrett Nussmeier, no, I don't see that happening. And Deion Smith, potentially, yes. I think Deion Smith does have a decent shot, especially if LSU runs more 4 wide receiver sets, which I think they might next season. I don't think it's a far-fetched idea. And if that's the case, that opens up the door for Jack Besh, Chris Hilton, and and Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas Jr. And by the way, if you watched our video from this week, my personal evaluation is different than what my historical research showed me. I actually did have Jack Bech rated as the number one wide receiver out of all of them, just based on my personal evaluation. But what history tells me is Brian Thomas Jr. and Chris Hilton are going to be the best out of the group. We go to Danny. I'm excited for June. Danny, thank you so much for the super chat. Let's see. I'm excited for June. We have a lot of out-of-state talent taking their official visits. Danny wants to talk some recruiting. I like it. I heard Shamar Stewart only has us as his official visit. So great question, Danny. I want to talk some recruiting. So look at the 5 stars. Obviously, there was a good report from 247 as far as Kelvin Banks, a 5-star offensive tackle. And what would make Kelvin Banks such a big pickup is there's a heavy Texas A&M lean. So not only are you getting Kelvin Banks to come to LSU, you're also getting Kelvin Banks away from Texas A&M, which has brutally out-recruited us in the trenches recently, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You look at Texas A&M, the reason why Jimbo had such a great team last season was because he's recruited the heck out of the offensive line. They have developed that position well, and the defensive line. DeMarvin Leal was probably the best defensive lineman in the SEC last season, and he's coming back next season. So we can't let Texas A&M keep killing us in the trenches. And you look at a guy like Shamar Stewart, that's on obviously the defensive side of the ball, but you look at the 5 stars in 2022. You go down the list of guys that you think LSU could get. The Kelvin Banks thing, though, this week from 247, I believe it was Bill Embody that reported that. That's great. That's absolutely great. And, Bill knows way more about recruiting than I do. But yeah, that would be huge if LSU can get a 5-star offensive lineman out of state. They've not had a 5-star offensive lineman out of state since Maya Tuema, who was a major hit until off the field stuff forced him to transfer to Southeastern Louisiana. So yeah, that would be huge. If you can get Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell, 2 5-star offensive linemen, get Emory Jones. I still think that's a big one out of Baton Rouge. And then Lucas Taylor and Bo Bordelon. That's probably your best offensive line recruiting class in quite some time. You look at the 27 group that had Austin Deculus and Ingram, and then you go all the way back to 2014. That 2014 class, we talk about Leonard Fournette and we talk about Malachi Dupree and those guys. That 2014 class was also Will Clapp and Garrett Brumfield that were multiple year starters. Both are still in the league. So yeah, Danny, I'm glad you brought that up. Now, as far as Shamar Stewart is concerned, not really as big of a position of need. LSU is really young at defensive end, but obviously, when you get a 5-star defensive lineman, you got to take them. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think Shamar is I'm still going to stand by this. I still think he is the most likely 5-star out-of-state defensive lineman or just 5-star out-of-state recruit that LSU could land. I wouldn't worry, though, too much about the skill position guys. Obviously, it would be nice to get a Kamari Wilson, a 5-star DB out of IMG, and then there's Keon Sabb there as well. So we'll see. But Danny, as far as Shamar Stewart is concerned, Ed Orgeron's been on top of this for a while. Got to give him a lot of credit for finding a guy that he really wants. It's just tough. When all the 5-star out-of-state guys go to the Alabamas and the Clemsons and the Ohio States, it's tough. Those guys are just better. They're a better national brand for the 5-star out-of-staters right now, whether that be Quinn Ewers or whoever. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think, though, the name, Danny, that you should keep an eye out for the most so is Kelvin Banks. There's some other 5-star out-of-staters that you could look at. Obviously, Devon Campbell's a name that's going to be there. And then Zach Rice, that's a pipe dream. I don't think anyone here thinks that would happen. And then, obviously, go back to Emory Jones. I just think that's going to be so big when he commits. So, yeah. But then if you look at some other offensive linemen, look at Julian Armella, is probably the most likely out-of-state offensive lineman that LSU could potentially get. We'll see what happens. There's some Trey Palmer chat in here. And guys, I really appreciate you guys coming over from the last live stream. I really do apologize that happened. I would place Adrian on the. And Danny, once again, it's still your super chat. Danny, let me know if I answered your question just fine. As far as 5-star out of state recruits, comment and let me know. And Danny, it is still your super chat if you want to keep talking some recruiting. And then you got Harold Perkins. I forgot about him, the 5-star outside linebacker, training in New Orleans, has Louisiana ties. Once again, this is the key thing. And I saw this photo on Twitter this week of Arch Manning working out with the Texas tight end just privately. You know, if you lose recruits, it's okay if they go to a non-SEC West or Florida school. Obviously, you don't want them going into the SEC because you play Clemson and Oklahoma in the next 5 or 10 years. You don't want them going to either one of those schools. But if a 5-star kid, such as losing Rajon Davis to USC, okay. Losing Corey Foreman to USC, okay. So what? Do we envision a scenario where Clay Helton gets this USC team to a college football playoff in the next 2 or 3 years? Maybe. They could. But if you lose guys to schools that is not Clemson or Ohio State, that's fine. And if Arch Manning or any of these guys, if we lose out to them to Texas, so what? We don't play Texas out of conference. That ship is sailed. That ship has sailed. So if we lose them, we lose them. No big deal. Kane, I do not, and I would. And the more I think about it, the more it probably sounds weird. Yeah, Danny, I agree with that. Eli Holstein, or the kid from Woodlawn, Ricky Collins, can flat out play. But apparently, Eli Holstein's a real deal. Son of Caleb Holstein. But this is interesting, Danny. And Danny, it seems like you're a big recruiting guy, Danny. And this might interest you a little bit more than maybe other people on this chat. But you did drop a 20 spot. So it's interesting. And we were talking about this in the last live stream. When you go look at the high school statistics of some of the LSU quarterbacks that have come here, the ones that had junior to senior regression in their statistics are the ones that really struggled at LSU or they never really worked out. And it's very interesting to see how Eli Holstein performs over these next 2 seasons. Because, here's my stance on looking at quarterback tape. I just can't look at Arch Manning or Eli Holstein's tape and say, okay, this guy's a bona fide superstar. It is way too early in a quarterback's development to even guess that. I think junior tape is a little bit better. I was really blown away by Walker Howard, guys. I really was. Just his knowledge and feel for the game is just absolutely incredible. And yes, that St. Thomas More offense is loaded. Yes, he was thrown to Jack Bash, but goodness, I mean, there were some things that he did that is quite remarkable for a guy who started his first season of high school football. And that's something else you got to remember about Walker Howard. He did not start as a sophomore like a lot of 5-star quarterbacks do. A lot of 5-star quarterbacks have 3 years of starters experience. But Walker Howard sat the bench as a sophomore. I did not know, Kane, but thank you for the super chat. Pipe dream refer to dreams experienced when smoking an opium pipe. Very interesting. Eli is more mobile. Eli Holstein. Creek, what's good, man? Oh, Julius. You guys, you got to understand. You got to stay away from Eric Gilbert. I mean, as far as trying to look up the latest in Eric Gilbert news, because the next thing you know, he's tweeting from Izzo's burrito that he's going to Oregon. You never know. You never know. But yes, I obviously would be really excited to get Eric Gilbert back, even though there is a piece of me, and I do mean everything I've said before. The way he left, the way that this whole ordeal has happened, the fact that he wanted to go to a team that we play every season, and that didn't work out, and now he's back with us. It's interesting. So yeah, Danny, I would not be a great 30 for 30. And the reason why is because, he's still just so young. And I know I've referenced this a few times, but I listened to the Freddie Adu podcast recently, and just too much stuff was thrown at him at a young age, and he was talking about the experience of all the pressure being on your shoulders as a teenager, and you can't just be a kid. And I think Eric Gilbert, with all the YouTube views he had going into the season and getting the starting spot just day one with, not really earning it, he just got it because he is so sublimely talented. I just think, that messed with this psyche. So yeah, it's crazy. And Freddie Adu was talking about that prodigies, not everyone has the mental makeup of a LeBron or a Bryce Harper or someone like that, where they could take all of this pressure and fame. And obviously Eric isn't on that level. He's nowhere close to that level of a prodigy, but in a college football sense, he really was. Tranya says, what's really wrong with them? So here's the thing. You got to remember this. The human mind doesn't stop developing until the age of 25. And when you have all that pressure, it's a little bit different if you're like a teenage celebrity doing something else. Like if you're a teenage TikTok celebrity or something like that. You can just live by your own rules. You don't really have to answer to anyone then. Whereas if you're a teen football prodigy, there's still structure that you have to abide by. There's still plays. There's still other people that you have to rely on. And I just think for some guys, especially Eric Gilbert, who came to LSU because of the 2019 season, because of the 2019 offense, because of Joe Brady and John DeCoster doing a lot of the recruiting there, and they weren't there anymore. A lot of the ties he had to the team were no longer there. And that's the thing. That's the risk that you run getting a 5-star from out of state. Because every time you get a 5-star from out of state, obviously, they love being at a Division I school. They love being at LSU, but they don't love it as much as a Louisiana kid loves being at LSU, who dreamed of going to LSU, who would do anything for an LSU offer. There is something to that. Especially, you look at the 2019 team, you could just tell that a lot of the guys like from Louisiana, and you saw how much that meant to Justin Jefferson and his family and Clyde and his family. You saw that embrace afterwards with his father. You saw how much that meant to them. And, there's something to it. There really is something to it. Saint. Okay, DeSaint, I'm a little mad at you because I told my girlfriend about the number one, you're very generous super chat in the last one, but I never got my slingshot video. I never got it. I promise you, I never got it. Huh? But yeah, I just me personally, I try to be as forgiving as I possibly can. But and I am forgiving of Eric Gilbert because of all the fame that came to him at a very young age. But this it doesn't change the amount of work and mental gymnastics that we've had to do to get him back to where we are right now. Also, the amount of luck that has needed to happen for him to get here right now. I don't understand why he couldn't go to Florida. If there was some kind of eligibility thing about why he couldn't go to Florida, we still, I'm not sure. I haven't really looked this up, to be fair. I never really heard Dan Mullen even talk about this thing. I don't know if he can talk about it, to be honest. So yeah, there's a lot of just, mystery. And here's the thing, I do a lot of breakdowns on this channel, and obviously it can get very deep and it can get very detailed, and we break down the tape and we break down all of this. But I could be the first to admit there are some things that you can't quantify. There are some things that I can't say because I am not in the locker room every day. And there's something, and I rarely bring this up, but in football in particular, when I played high school football, it was very important in the locker room to see if everybody was invested. And I remember teammates that I had that didn't want to play one week, and they just didn't. And they would come back the next week, act like everything was fine. And then everyone in the locker room was like, "Oh crap, is he gonna leave us again?" And there is something that it can do to your psyche when everyone is not all bought in. And maybe for Eric Gilbert, the damage could already be done. Maybe the damage could be where there's people like, "Oh, is he going to be here with us next week? Is he happy?" So we'll see. We'll see what happens. You sent it via Twitter. Okay. I want to see this. And I'll stop the entire live stream to look this up. Did you DM it to me? I never saw it. So the saying, whoever you sent it to got a random LSU slingshot. And then they're like, wow, what kind of Goliath stuff is this? Huh? I don't know, Spence. That's the thing. They would know more than me in that aspect. So yeah, there's an intrinsic's not the right word. That's like a big word that I don't kind of know what it means. But anyway, there's there's a subjective thing that is kind of hard to quantify. No, the same. You could send it after. You could send it after. I want you to stay in the chat because we got some great discussion going on. Tranya, let's see. Tranya, is it your first live stream? I think this is your first live stream. Hey, Carter, I really think Max should win out the left hand with mobility, reminder of the perfect LSU quarterback. He has the Jarrett Lee body with way more speed and arm talent. Yeah, well, number one, I don't I don't think we and I knew Jarrett in college. I don't think we want a quarterback with a Jarrett Lee body. We want a quarterback with, I'm not a big physique guy. If you could play, you could play, especially at quarterback. But I get what you're saying. He doesn't have an overly athletic build. You go back. Max Johnson has never really been a deadly runner. In high school, he wasn't deadly with his legs. And then, last season, they brought Max Johnson in on some design runs, and it didn't work for whatever reason. Now, he does give you a lot in the zone read game. He does open some things up there, and he can scramble, make some plays with his legs. At best, I would say he's a Matt Flynn type of runner, where Matt Flynn obviously made plays with his legs, but obviously he was better through the air. So, yeah. Then Zach Mettenberger, then. That's a interesting comparison because they played at the same high school, and they both had very similar numbers. Neither one of them were 3,000-yard passers as seniors in high school. So that could be the level of competition in Georgia, but yeah, it's interesting that you compare those two. But Met obviously has an elite arm, and our guy Max just doesn't have that. Now, Carvis brought up an interesting point. What's up, Eric? Good to see you, man. I was wondering where you were. Eric Carvis brought up an interesting point a minute ago. If Eric Gilbert comes back, what does that say about Myles Brennan? Well, Myles and Eric had a pretty good rapport. You go back to the Mississippi State game, the first game that they played. You had that touchdown connection on a random floated ball. But earlier on that drive, Eric Gilbert ran a corner route, and Myles high pointed him, and Eric caught that ball so clean. And then the Vanderbilt game, they had good connection. And then obviously the Missouri game, which is downright filthy. And that was when Eric Gilbert had an injury and he sat out most of the third quarter. And he had a huge fourth down conversion early in that game. He had a huge touchdown in that game, 6 catches, 97 yards. And then on the game winning drive, the drive without that final yard, so it wasn't a game winning drive, he connected with Eric Gilbert a few times there. And that was, the Eric Gilbert we expected to see. He was really special in that game. And maybe Myles with Eric would be a good fit. Patrick, that's a good Ulysses asked me about this earlier, Pig Cage. I'm not going to lie to you. I know he's from Nichols. I know a lot of players are excited to have him. I just know nothing. I just know absolutely nothing. I know Nichols had Lindsey Scott at quarterback. I know LSU just got Darren Evans from Nichols. I haven't watched a second of Pig Cage tape. There's only so much you can dive deep into. Now, what I will do, Patrick, is give you what I have been working on. I've been working on a Garrett Nussmeier project. So, yeah, I haven't touched any Pig Cage tape, and I would just be lying to you if I said I did. So, yeah, I'm excited that LSU got another player, though. So, yeah, obviously, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat is wide open. Danny brought up some recruiting. So, obviously, pick your topic, and we'll go straight to it. Okay, here we go. Oh, I thought you said a slingshot. I was thinking like, what is this? This is crazy. Desane, can I show everybody this? This is nuts. I'm going to wait and get your blessing because I don't want to. This is wild. So you just drive that? You can drive this on like a highway? Oh, you got One Team, One Heartbeat on here. That's dope. I could see. Wow. This thing's slingshot the vehicle. This is so cool, man. And you're from Metri. Oh, I thought I read Metri. I didn't. I like this, Saint. My priorities are faith, family, and LSU football. My kind of guy right there. Huh? Yes. So FFYM. I didn't know what a slingshot was. And Saint was talking about, oh, I got this slingshot that I want you to see. I thought you were talking about like, that's why I said that Goliath thing. I thought you said it was like a 20-foot slingshot. I thought you were talking. It's basically through. I had no idea. I know what you're talking about now. So I'm going to wait till Saint says if I could show you this, or I might just post it in a video later this week. But yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Saint, thank you for sending me that. That made my night. And I'll show it. I'll show it once you give your blessing. The cornerback. Yeah, that's cool. You'll rent me one when I come to Vegas? Okay, I'm down. I could Metairie. 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 So it's Metairie. 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 I thought it said I love Metairie, man. Funnest, one of the coolest things was covering the Saints in the offseason before they won the Super Bowl. Metairie. 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 There we go. I will not Google that big out because I love Haley, and she is doing salmon tonight. So, Creek, thank you for the super chat. Creek, I didn't get to your question. I'll get to your question right now. Let's see. Creek wanted to talk about John David Booty. I focus more on modern era LSU, but yeah, the John David Booty era was something else, right? But that was during the Peyton Manning era. Was that post Peyton Manning? I don't know. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so the Saint said I could show you guys this dope video. Let's do it. You're the man. Okay. Let's see. So I'll show you. Look at this. He's got all the national championship teams on there. And he's got Louisiana. So it's Metairie. Is it Metairie? I've heard people say Metairie and Metairie. Carter is such a fraud. This guy can't even pronounce the towns right. Oh, he left to go to play baseball. Interesting. Creek said LSU is loaded with stars. I'm not worried. How cool is this, Rai? I'm coming up to Canada on one of these, and we're going to go get some poutine. Look at this. The Saint. Are you kidding me? Faith family and LSU football and slingshots. That's so dope. I like that screen. Look at that. Oh, you got the 7 right there? Okay. The Saint. You son of a gun. That's dope, man. That's so cool. Saint, you son of a gun. I love it, man. Freaking love it. If you drove that to a game, it probably wouldn't be there when you got back out. Yeah, DRC. But here's the thing. People know not to mess with my vehicle. Like, if I was wearing a sleeveless shirt, you would think I'd be Vin Diesel. Like, for real. Like, and I will go fast and furious on you. You don't want to mess with my rides. I'd call up Ludacris. We'll find you in a second. And next thing you know, you'll be in a ditch trying to steal my slingshot with my LSU custom paint. I love it. That is fantastic. Well, Danny, thank you for your super chat. Saint, thank you for your support as well. Saint, if you missed it, Danny was talking about some recruiting. I am crossing my fingers on Harold Perkins. I am crossing my fingers. I go back on this, and guys, I'm going to need your help on this. I'll go. I just think college football. We are at a really weird time. So of course, like the 2019 team happened as an LSU fan, but there are so many things that are going to change over the next few seasons. And obviously, a lot of you know about the transfer portal. A lot of you know about the NIL. A lot of you know, obviously, about the scholarship productions we're going to have over the next few seasons. And I'm just hoping that we stay ahead of it. And I understand, like, you see some of these other schools about talking about building your brand. Ohio State, Alabama, LSU's done it as well. LSU was one of the first schools to hire an NIL consulting firm. LSU just had one of their analysts go to law school so they can learn more about the NIL. I saw this, a guy that I've listened to a long time when, over the last 5 or so years. Now, I don't listen to a whole lot of other LSU content, but, when I was in Baton Rouge, you would turn on and hear Charles Hannegriff, and he's about to get into some NIL stuff. Now, he'll still do radio from his tweets earlier today, but it's interesting because so much of this is going to change. And obviously, whoever turns this curve the first, whether it be Open Doors or all these other NIL firms and brand strategists and all those things, it's interesting. Now, you could make an argument that there's nothing bigger for your brand than playing for LSU football as a kid from Louisiana. So that's going to be a major selling point. There is so much that coincides with the LSU brand. And when you really think about some of the biggest stars in football, I'm not just talking about college, but even in the NFL, some of the biggest stars in the league are LSU guys. And when you go to a school like Alabama, now obviously Alabama, is going to boost your followers, get you Heisman trophies and national championships. But individually, you look at some of the LSU stars, like Odell is a global star. Justin Jefferson, is a superstar. The Fortnite dance, the Bleacher Report 40-yard dash. Then you got Leonard Fournette and you got Devin White. Their stars are rising. And then obviously, the biggest star outside of Odell, obviously, is Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann Mathieu is a cultural phenomena. So it's going to be interesting to see how other coaches and players follow suit. And what I think is going to happen over the next 5 years regarding stuff like this, I could see more NFL guys being more involved with the program. I really can. Justin, good night. I hope I didn't bore you with this, Justin. Trey White, yeah, of course. What's up, Tomcat? Butte is the next Odell Beckham. Yeah, both of them huge true freshman seasons. Let's see. Emory is a star. Butte is a star. Oh, let's stop there. I would not put John Emory and Kayshawn in the same sentence because I could go as far as saying Kayshawn has already, at this point, even though it's a small sample, and Emory's, of course, played far more games, Kayshawn, you can argue, has had a better career than John Emory up to this point. I think Jay Warden McLaughlin is a star. I think Jay Roy is a star. Yeah, I think Jalen Roy could have a huge year two breakout. Mason Smith and Jacobian Guillory. Guillory's kind of in a tough spot where he's not going to get to play all that much, but that's not because he's not good. He had some flashes in that spring game. So, yeah, I mean, I think Jacobian Guillory is probably starting at a lot of other Division I programs. So we'll see. Yeah, and then, you think about that, and obviously, a lot of Alabama guys are stars and A&M, whoever, but man, LSU has had some supernovas, and I didn't even mention Joe Burrow. Yeah, Matthias, I agree. He can be really good. His first real game last season was against Alabama, and that's tough. You're a true freshman defensive tackle. First game, you're going up against Leatherwood, Neal, Dickerson, and that crew. What's up, Dwayne? Kane said this all started because someone said we're full of stars, and I disagree. Kane says we have 2 CBs who are stars. That's it. Everyone else is a talent. Now, I would consider Kayshawn a star, even though, most of his damage was done at the end of the season. And, that 3-game sample is small. You go back to Kayshawn in the games last season. What makes him very interesting is that he is way smarter than most true freshman football players. So yes, he got a bad rap for doing the Deshaun Jackson thing. And of course, the blogs went to town on it. And it doesn't help that Kayshawn and Deshaun Jackson have a lot of similar traits as far as their deep playmaking ability. But Kayshawn in that game, and I don't know if you guys saw this on the Eric Gilbert film study earlier this week, Kayshawn in that game against Alabama hustled and had a huge block for John Emery to walk untouched into the end zone. Then Kayshawn in the Florida game downed a critical punt at the 1-yard line. And then, to have the Ole Miss game while he was injured, those 3 games were impressive enough for me to say, okay, this guy is going to be a star. And then he had the spring game where, he got Ricks and McGlothern, and both of them had good games overall. So I think those 3 guys are stars. And I think everyone else, they're really experienced. But once again, I'll bring this up again. Go back to the 2007 LSU National Championship team. And yes, they had 2 losses. But still, how many stars did they have on that team? Well, there wasn't a single NFL Pro Bowler on that team. They were just really, really freaking good. They did not have a weakness on that team. There was no weak units on that team. They were great at defensive back. They were great at linebacker. They were great on the defensive line. Their offensive line is severely underrated. They were really good at wide receiver. They're really good at quarterback, and they're really good at running back. So, yes, stars do win you games, but they do not necessarily win you championships unless each and every one of your units are sound. And you look at let's just take the 2020 team, for example. The 2020 LSU team did not have a lot of stars, but they also had really bad units, okay? The running backs were meh. The offensive line was meh. The quarterback, honestly, all things considered, weren't that bad. You could make all the things about TJ Finley you want, but he should have never even played, and he was not necessarily the worst. Now, he wasn't great, but he was solid, and then Max was pretty good in his 2 games. The only units on the team that were good, wide receiver, we were pretty good. Quarterback, we were okay. Then our defensive line was, for the most part, good, but our linebackers were very inconsistent. Our secondary was obviously not good at all. But were we with 2 great corners? I don't know. It's better to have good units than to have stars. So that's, my major takeaway there. Yes, stars are great. It helps having Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase and Clyde and Joe and Grant and whoever you want to mention, Caleb on Chason. Those are great. First round picks are great. But I would trade stars any day of the week for solid units. King Ulysses, that's bold. I am very interested. I want to watch some pig cage. Let's see. There you go. Tomcat's big on Jaquelin Roy. Dwayne, what's good, man? Dwayne, you never sent me Dwayne, I know you were trying to send me a Venmo at the end of the last live stream. And Dwayne, you had a topic that you wanted me to touch on for this live stream. Dwayne, feel free to send me that Venmo now. We have plenty of time to get to it. So let's get to a few other. Trey, what's good? I'm late. Trey, we had, for those that are just joining us, in our first stream, we had some technical difficulties. There was a power surge, and then the Wi-Fi got screwed up. So this is actually our second stream. So we have a 20-minute stream from earlier today, but this is a live one, and this is where we want you to be. And here we go. Dwayne, thank you so much. So, Dwayne, please feel free to ask me any question you want. Thank you for the very generous super chat. Now, we do have Marcus here, and I want full disclosure. Marcus sent us a super chat during the last live stream a little earlier tonight before we had our technical difficulties. So, Marcus, I was getting ready to answer your question, and then we froze. And I'll get to it right now. What do you think about opening up the college football bracket to maybe an Elite Eight and maybe making the championship game a series, like the best 2 out of 3? Okay. So, Marcus, this is really funny. Now, hear me out on this. Dwayne, thank you for your Cash App. I want to get to your topic immediately. So, Dwayne, in the chat, just list your question because I know you were trying to get one in at the end when we were for. Yeah, Dwayne, I got it. So, whichever topic you want to get to, Dwayne, we'll go to it right away. So, I want to answer Marcus's first. And this is so key because I'm really, out of anything I am passionate about in sports outside of LSU football, is structure. I hate the way American sports leagues are structured. I don't like the fact that we dilute regular season games. And what changed me was becoming a European soccer fan back in 2005. And I understand a lot of you hate soccer. I love it. Yeah, I mean, I grew up playing it, and in high school, I was a soccer starter at midfield, and I was also a defensive tackle, which is kind of a weird thing. But I love soccer, and I love the way the European leagues are structured. And some of you know about that. I'm not going to dive deep into that. However, the one thing college football has, and you hear European soccer leagues, and I'm losing viewers because I brought that up, but still, the one thing European soccer leagues have in common with college football is obviously we have really passionate fans. LSU football fans are just like Manchester United fans. You know, we care so much about the team. So the one thing college football does a great job of is our regular season matters. It really matters. The thing that could happen when you expand the college football playoff is every time you expand a season or you expand a playoff, you are diluting what happens in the regular season. A perfect example of that is a lot of you are New Orleans Saints fans. I'm a Saints fan. I'm not as diehard of a Saints fan as I am a Pelicans fan or LSU, but I love the Saints. Okay, I grew up watching the Saints, whatever. So take the New Orleans Saints for this last season. They were the 2 seed, but they weren't a true 2 seed in the sense of NFL playoffs from years past because there was a 7 seed. So as the 2 seed, the Saints lost their bye week that they would normally have as a 2 seed. So what happened? Well, they had to play the Bears, and we had a few injuries in that game, and we weren't as fresh as we normally would have been going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, we still shouldn't have lost that game, but still, the Saints' success in the regular season was diluted by expanding the playoff. Every time you expand a playoff, we do not want to dilute regular season games. That's what makes college football great. And the perfect example is the Marco Wilson shoe throw. If the Marco Wilson shoe throw happened in an 8-team college playoff, guess what? If Florida would have beaten Alabama, they still would have been in. They still would have been in. If it was a 16-team playoff, Florida would have been comfortably in with that loss to LSU and Alabama. So Florida would have lost all 3 of their regular season games against the 3 best teams on their schedule, and they still would have gotten into the college football playoff last season. So when you expand the playoff, you hurt the sport. Now I understand. Revenue, money talks, college football playoff games make way more. If you factor in the New Year's Six and the college football playoff games from the 2019 calendar year, those games made $420 million. And then when you look at the other bowl games, the other 33 bowl games combined, they only made $99 million. Now that college teams have lost this revenue from not having ticket sales and all of that, we are going to get to an 8-team playoff quicker than what we normally would. And I understand. Money talks. We got to subsidize this ridiculous sport that we love near and dear to our hearts. But it's going to change the sport for the worse, because what makes Tiger Stadium on a Saturday night so daggum special is that each and every game you play in Tiger Stadium matters so daggum much. And whether or not we win or we lose, I, as a college football diehard, and you as a college football diehard, love that game on that Saturday against whether it's Ole Miss or Alabama means the freaking world. And I hate that whenever we do expand to 8 or we do expand to 12, I would be fine with 6. But when we keep expanding, you take away what makes the sport so special. Every single week, your chin straps better be buckled, because if you lose that game, it could cost you your freaking season. And the NBA doesn't have that. The MLB certainly doesn't have it. And all these other sports we have in America don't have it. And you want those games to mean so much. The jungle juice is kicking in. DeSaint says, what are the expectations for special teams? The kicking game was okay. The return game was non-existent. Well, yeah, Cade York is obviously really special. The 57-yarder was probably the greatest LSU kick of all time, especially the modern era. You know, you look at the 2007, Colt David hit a really good kick from 47 on the road against Alabama. And then you look at, obviously, Cole Tracy's kick versus Auburn in 2018 was great. So, yeah, kicking game was really good. Our kickoff coverage wasn't the best. So, Avery Atkins is obviously one of the best kickoff guys in the country. But what we're going to see next season is a lot of teams are going to return more kicks, because when you kick the ball 8 yards into the end zone, it does increase the distance for a return guy to get a running start. And all you have to do is just seam one guy out of his gap. So, you know, we gave up a big kick to Donovan Kaufman out of Vanderbilt. And the guy who got out of his gap was Evan Francione. And those two were high school teammates at Archbishop Brummel, ironically. So Francione got out of his gap, and boom, Donovan Kaufman was able to develop so much speed running downhill. He had a 60-plus yard return. And same thing happened against Ole Miss. Jarian Ely, who has, you know, one of the best athletes in the country, had a running start, and we outkicked it. So it's tough to really evaluate special teams. What LSU is going to have to decide next season, though, you know, on kickoff, they really had to play a lot of walk-ons and backups on kickoff. Josh White and a few other guys like that, you know, because their numbers are so small. Next season, are they going to play more starters? Obviously, you know, the first name as far as kickoff, punts, units, and stuff like that, LSU's going to cross their fingers and hope Matthew Langlois could do that right away. And look, he's a perfect candidate. He's a backup defensive back, a guy that's probably not going to play a whole lot, but he's got elite speed. He's probably one of the 5 or 10 fastest guys on the team now, you know, and he's fresh. He's obviously hungry to, you know, make a play. So guys like that, guys like Josh White that are grinders, guys that can, you know, break up wedges. You can't really wedge on kickoff return anymore or punt or whatever. So, yeah, that's going to be key to Saint. As far as punting is concerned, you just got to hope Peyton Todd is the guy. Patrick, thank you so much. Okay, let's go to Dwayne Super Chat. All right. And while we do this, let's see. Based on the current roster, are we good enough to make the playoffs and win? Okay, so let's do this. Dwayne, this is a really good question. I like very general questions like this. Let me ask everyone in the chat right now. And I want you guys to look at yourself. I'm looking at every single one of you. I'm pointing at you. I'm giving you an Uncle Sam right here. Look, right. I'm looking right at you. You. I want you in the chat right now with a simple yes or no. I don't want it depends. I don't want anything. Do you believe you? I'm looking at Big Al in Huntsville. I'm looking at Kane in Pennsylvania. I'm looking at Eric at Roberts Air Force Base in Georgia. I'm looking at Ulysses in Denver. I know where you guys live. Not exactly. But I want every one of you to answer Dwayne's question here. Do you think that this roster is good enough to get us to a college football playoff next season? Type in the chat. I want all 67 of you to answer this in the chat. Type in the chat right now. Do you think this roster, I am Jack, his first comment of the night. I appreciate that. Write in the chat, do you think this roster is good enough? Okay. Yes. Okay. We'll do that. Oh, Jared, this is where I get in my feels, man. And I promise you, Dwayne, I'll get back into this topic. Whenever, and Haley and I were talking about this earlier, whenever we hear that the whole family is like watching, because I know YouTube apps are on more TVs now or Fire Sticks or whatever, I get so emotional because anytime I hear a whole family's watching, or if one of you guys are watching with your kids, this is where I would text Haley to say, bring Booger. God. And we would show Bug the dog and everybody. And I just knew, like, I would get messages like from so many people, like, oh my God, this is lighting up my family's life right now. Seeing a little Bug. But we do have another dog coming, but RIP Bug. We got our ashes. We got our own little Booger shrine in the other room. I miss her so much. I really do. Dwayne, I don't want a maybe. Oh, that wasn't your first comment. I'm sorry. I'm Jack. But I'm glad you were the first. I meant to say you were the first comment on yes on this. So you were the first one to say yes to this question. Gift Lucila, is this your first live stream? Gift Lucila. If it is Gift, or if this is your first time commenting, everyone welcome Gift. As we get ready to answer Dwayne's question, Mike Unknown, we'll want to welcome you to the live stream. I know a lot of you comment for the first time. I want to welcome you guys, and I'm glad to have you a part of the conversation. Michael Buchanan, we got a lot of Michaels that watch. Round of applause. Round of applause to all our new viewers. Achiki is the first person to say no. I think our offensive line will be our downfall. So I do want to welcome some new viewers here. Obviously, if you can, hit the like button, Venmo, Cash App, Super Chat, and get yourself a PHL shirt. You can find the link down below. So some of you have kind of, and I said don't do depends, but Danny actually jumped ahead to my next question, and this is really key. Okay, this is very important. Do you think this coaching staff is good enough to get to the college football playoff? Just a simple yes or no. Do you think this coaching staff is good enough? Because actually, it's her husband, JP, using her login. Too lazy to Gift, welcome. Welcome to the chat. Let's see. DRC was honest. I said, I have no idea about the coaching. Dro, good to see you, man. And see you in a while. Coaching staff, yes. So I know some of you are probably like, well, we got first-year coordinators. When you go look at some of the other LSU national championship teams, a lot of them had first-year coordinators. Look at that 2011 team that made it to the national championship game. There's a lot of people wondering, can Coach Greg Studwara actually get us to the championship? And he did. Trey, thank you for a good Venmo right there, Trey. I appreciate that. So Kane believes his staff will be the downfall. Thank you, JJ. I appreciate that. JJ, are you working right now? JJ is our nurse in Shreveport. Well, not my nurse in Shreveport, but he is a nurse in Shreveport. So JJ, thanks for all the work that you do. And this sounds cliche, but as many of you know, this is not cliche for this channel because I'm not gonna lie, we have so much military that watch our channel. So thanks to everyone that served in the military or currently serving. NRMN, thank you so much. We have so many Canadian viewers as well. Rai, NRMN. So yes. So thanks to all our service members and people that do actual jobs that are very important. King Alyssa says the only downfall will be the development of the offensive line. NFL LSU says LB, I need a link to get that shirt. I'll work on that for you right now. Let's see. Boom. All right. Let's move this around right here. Okay. And boom goes the dynamite. There you go. Get your shirt, baby. Oh, the shirt I have on. So this, what's funny? I've not worn the shirt in a while. I think I've worn it once on a live stream. This is a shirt that I wear on stage for a lot of my comedy shows. If I'm doing a weekend at a club, I wear this shirt on Friday nights. But I'm wearing it on Saturday night because I love you guys. Look at that. I love it. Oh, Jared, you got okay. This is interesting. Jared said, "My baby." Actually, Jared, here's what I'm going to do. Haley's way better at this than I am. Okay. Wait, are you saying Dobby or Doobie? Not Dobby. Huh? Let me text Haley and get her opinion on this because Haley has ironically named a lot of dogs in her life for friends. What kind of dog is it, Jared? So, what's up, Tony? Reed, that's the thing, okay? He's here because he cares, okay? It's okay if you don't feel the LSU coaching staff is strong enough. That is your own opinion. That doesn't mean you hate LSU. That is not that. Those two things can be separate. Those are two different things. You can be skeptical of something and still love it, okay? Perfect example. There is obviously a lot of Dallas Cowboys fans that watch his channel as well. A lot of you hate Mike Nolan. A lot of you think Mike Nolan is awful. A lot of you think Mike McCarthy is awful. That doesn't mean you hate the Dallas Cowboys. Kane just really doesn't like the coaching staff. Now, I disagree, but that's the thing. Yeah, Andre Carter. Yeah. Oh, Terrence Tolliver was my teammate in the CFL? NRMN. I actually knew Terrence in college. I think we're Facebook friends, ironically. I wasn't close with them. I think Terrence Tolliver is one of the most underrated LSU players ever. I really do think so. If you actually factor in his situation, he got a raw deal. He got a raw deal at LSU. Now, why he didn't work in the NFL, I don't know. So, oh yeah, Jared, please send a pic. I'd love to see it, and I'll get Haley to take a look at it, and she'll be better off at it. So here, Dwayne, I wanted you to get everyone's perspective on this. Now, Dwayne, if you're still watching, I hope you are. This is the most important thing, okay? And then Trey, we'll get to your Venmo. Trey, whatever you want to talk about, we will get to. Let's see. NRMN, if there's a topic you want to talk about, we'll get to that as well. Okay. Right. I want to come up to Canada and see you guys.
Bubba?
Yeah, bub.
Got time to shower. The dinner's ready. Are you gonna be on for a little bit?
Yeah. No. He's about to email us a photo of the dog. He wants you to name it.
What?
Jared hooked us up with a bunch of super chats, and he said he wanted everyone to vote on a name, but I said Haley is an expert dog namer. So I think
I don't know about that.
Hey likes dill, but Jared is emailing us a photo, and Jared's actually watching with his entire family. And I was sharing how Bug would always come on here when there would be, whenever we got a message.
Can I show him the booger photo that's sitting on her ashes? It's so good.
Yeah, you can't go around in that. So this would be my response to Dwayne. Not worried too much about the first year coordinators, but
the baby.
Oh, you want to show? Okay, Jared just sent a photo from. There's Bug's photo right there. Look at her.
That's sitting on her box of her ashes. Isn't that so perfect?
Look at it. Look at Beggar. Oh, look at.
Oh my
God. Jared's new dog is so good. Okay, Jared, what was the dog's name? What were the dog names that you're going for? Okay, let's see. That looks like a Dilly.
I love him.
Look at Jared's dog. That is so good.
Oh my God.
Okay.
He is adorable.
Is it a he or a she?
Is it a boy or girl?
Okay, so Jared, what were the names that you wanted? Let me go back up here. I'm trying to find it, Jared. Jared, I can't find it on here, so super chat and light it up.
You sent it to me.
Trey, the buzz looks to be going towards Auburn right now, but I do know Texas and a few others have reached out to TJ as well.
Dill or Body?
Body?
Dobby.
I don't like Dobby. I don't like it, unless Dobby's like a family name. I'm going to go. I kind of like Gumbo as a name, though.
No.
But no, Dilly. I think that looks like a Dilly. This looks like a Dilly.
This is Beggar.
Dilly and Bugger. Shout out to Dilly. All right.
I'm just going to hold this here for everybody to see.
It's a he, Dill, Dobby, or Gumbo. All right, so who votes for Dill? Who votes for Dobby? Who votes for Gumbo?
I vote for Dill because you can call him, hey, Dilly, come here, Bowie.
Come here, Dilly. Dill, Dobby, or Gumbo? Let's see. I need some quick votes so I can answer this for Jared. Dill, Dobby, or Gumbo? Dill.
I love Dilly.
It seems like Jared. This looks like Dilly.
Dolly.
JJ, he was going to walk anyway for a better job. Bo Pix is not going to start. No, Bo Nix, I still think will be the starter next season.
My baby.
Okay, so it looks like Dilly is the winner. All right.
I love Dilly. Dilly's my fave.
So back to LSU talk here.
Alrighty.
All right, everyone say night night to Hay.
Why am I going night night?
I thought you were going in the shower.
Yeah, but that's not night night.
That's not night night.
Hey, baby, on the face.
So yeah, as far as coaching is concerned, yeah, okay. So to wrap up Dwayne's question here, because I wanted to get everyone's feedback. This is the most important thing. College football playoffs are so random, all right? And the path in the SEC to get to the college football playoff is harder than it's ever been before, okay? Especially now. So you look at 2019. The 2019 LSU team was so freaking good, it didn't matter who was on their schedule. They were going to beat whoever was in front of them. However, and this is a big thing to keep in mind, most national championship teams are not that good, okay? Yes, 2018 Clemson was unbelievable. In 2019, LSU was unbelievable. In 2020, Alabama was unbelievable. But it's hard to get to that level. So one thing we need to come to a realization here is that we will not be good enough at LSU to have another 2019 that quickly. I don't think the 2021 team is 2019 good, which is fine. There may not ever be an LSU team that gets to that level. It would be very hard for an LSU team to get to that level. So what does that mean? Well, it means that who is on your schedule matters. So we could talk all we want about LSU and LSU's talent and LSU's coaching. That's why I asked you guys if you thought this roster has enough talent to get to the college football playoff. And if you think this coaching is good enough to get to a college football playoff. All those things are true. However, what changed? Okay, so Dilly is the name. Dilly. And Trey, I'll get back to TJ Finley in just a second. This is the thing that you have to keep in mind, okay? And Dwayne, thank you so much for this question because it is such a great question. What happened from 2019 to 2021 is that everyone underneath us got better. Auburn got a little worse, but Ole Miss, Mississippi State, and Arkansas all got better. And they're not walkovers anymore. So in 2019, even though it didn't matter how good they were, Ole Miss, Arkansas, and Mississippi State, they weren't that good. They weren't that good. They were true freshman quarterbacks with coaches that were okay. But now all three of them have really good coaching staffs. All three of them have far more talent than what they had, to the point where any one of those three schools can beat us next season. And that doesn't include the top 15 recruiters that you have on your schedule every season, which are Alabama, Florida, and of course, Texas A&M. And then you have Auburn. I don't like what Auburn did, but they're going to be okay. So every SEC game that's on your schedule next season is losable. And that does not include UCLA the first week of the season. So to get to the college football playoff, it's not so much sometimes about who is on your team. It has more to do with who is on your schedule. And that could be the ultimate decider whether or not LSU will get to the playoff next season. So if we're going to simplify all of what we just said, is the 2020 team more talented, or excuse me, the 2021 team going to be more talented than the 2020 team? Yes, but they're not going to be as talented as the team that just went to the college football playoff. While at the same time, everyone that is on our schedule got better. So if those two things are true, it's going to be really hard for LSU to get back to the college football playoff. Now they can, it's just you're going to need a lot of 50-50 breaks to go your way, because this team next season is not going to be good enough where we two-possession everybody. Whether or not, yes, we had some close games, But against Texas, Auburn, and Alabama, the 3 games that were the closest by the final score, we were up by 2 possessions in the final few minutes of the game. So we really controlled every game. There really weren't many close calls. There were some close calls, but there wasn't many of them where like we had to sweat. That's just not going to be the case. You're going to play close games. Next season, LSU at the bare minimum, is going to play in 4 or 5 close games. Now, in order for you to go to the college football playoff, you can't lose 2 of those. Okay, let's say you play 5 games, which is back and forth to the end. It's going to be hard to go 4-1 in those games. So, what I say to this question is not so much can we get to the playoff, can we get to 10 wins? 10 wins seems to be a good barometer for next season. As we find ourselves with the new coaches, as we find ourselves with a lot of young players and a lot of older players who are going to transition hopefully to the NFL, you know, we got to also be reasonable about a lot of things for LSU. We're not high on SP Plus, Bill Connolly's metric. We're not high on FPI, ESPN's metric. Whereas, you know, in other national championship teams, we were high on those metrics going into the season. So it's going to be interesting. I see LSU next season, though, as a 10-3 team, which would be pretty good considering how bad we were last season. So hopefully that answers your question, Dwayne. Now, Trey wants to talk about TJ Finley. So yeah, I think this is obviously a great topic. I love TJ Finley. I really do. I really do think he's a good kid. I think he's got great character. You know, you go look at the Florida pick 6 from Elias Ricks. All I've heard is that TJ Finley, was a me guy or whatever. I'm not in the locker room to say that, but I do know when Eli Ricks had that pick 6, one of the first people to celebrate him on the sideline was TJ Finley, who was not playing that game. So I liked him. Ed Orgeron was, really sad to see him go. Per that ESPN interview he did, obviously with Jordy and T-Bob. No, I said Jordy. T-Bob and Jacob. And I wish TJ Finley nothing but the best. I always feel this way, Trey, about college football players. Look, that's a complex time of your life. And we were talking about this a little bit earlier, Trey. I know you joined us a little bit late, but Eric Gilbert. But, as a human being, your brain doesn't quit developing until it's 25 years of age. And when you go to college, the first time you're away from your family, and you're starting at the most difficult position in all the sport, there was a lot for TJ to overcome. Not everybody's Trevor Lawrence. Not everybody's ready to slam dunk this thing in year one. And I truly do believe this. What's going to happen? Let's say TJ Finley has success, whether he goes to Auburn or wherever else. What a lot of people are going to say is, okay, we missed out on something special here, which is not true. It's not true because a transfer oftentimes makes a quarterback stronger. Okay. Now there are some transfers that go to another school. They don't work out, but that transfer does a lot for you as a human being. It makes you grow. It's the first time in your life you're not talented enough to be the starter. And then you have that chip on your shoulder. You work even harder. So what I don't want to see from LSU fans is what I see from Ohio State fans when they talk about Joe Burrow. Well, some. Or Georgia fans when they talk about Justin Fields. We don't know how good they're going to be at their next stop. But the one thing we certainly don't know is how good they would have been had they stayed. So, yeah, I think, Trey, what's very interesting about TJ Finley's situation is if he does go to Auburn, Brian Harsin, what would that fit be like? I don't know what Brian Harsin's offense is going to look like at Auburn. But, yeah, it sucks that TJ could potentially go to another SEC West school. But I'm not sure if that's necessarily the best thing for him. I think the best thing for him is to go to a school where he's going to play a lot and then maybe work his way back up to a Division I school. So, yeah, Auburn, though, has obviously made the most buzz. It obviously makes a lot of sense. Auburn is panicking for quarterback help. Let me go look at maybe someone could help me out here. Does Auburn have a quarterback committed for 2022? Auburn 2022 class. All right, let's check here. Yes, they do. They have Holden Gariner out of Georgia committed, a pro style, 4-star. So yeah, Auburn's obviously panicking with Bo Nix or whatever. So we'll see. Yeah, wherever TJ goes, I do wish him a lot of success. And like I always say, I do cheer for the Louisiana 3-star. If you're a Louisiana 3-star, I do root for you. Now, you guys come to this channel for objective analysis, but if there was something I do root for more than anything else regarding LSU, I root for the Clydes and the Hesters and the Jeffersons and whoever else. Some good underdog stories. Yeah, DRC. I honestly, I think for me I think it was definitely a meritocracy. I thought TJ had plenty of opportunity to win this job, and we have a decent enough sample to say he wasn't the best guy at this point. He had the most amount of games, albeit against the harder defenses, but still his 2 best games were with more than 1 week to prepare, and his spring game was the worst. So, especially considering Garrett Nussmeyer was a true freshman and TJ was the only one that didn't have a touchdown. And Big Al, I know Big Al, you're with the live stream earlier. And Trey, I also know Trey is a huge Myles Brennan fan. I want to share this because Trey is on here now, and a lot of you didn't catch the live stream mess up that we had earlier. But I was looking at Myles Brennan high school stats, and really outside of Ryan Perrilloux, whose high school stats don't make sense. Ryan Perrilloux's high school stats are cartoons. He was so ridiculous. I don't think any Louisiana high school quarterback will ever touch what Ryan Perrilloux did, and he's probably the best Louisiana high school athlete maybe ever. But outside of him, out of any quarterback LSU's ever had, Myles Brennan's high school stats destroy a lot of other high school stats. And his obviously it's a 3-game sample, and none of those 3 games were against elite defenses. Myles Brennan statistically averaged 358 yards of total offense against college defenses. Then he averaged 369 yards per game versus high school defenses. And I saw a tweet recently that showed high correlation amongst the best NFL quarterbacks who were elite in high school and elite in college. Now, once again, we're not talking about star rankings. We're talking about the raw high school statistics. And I understand Myles Brennan did not play against elite defenses at Mississippi, and he didn't play against elite defenses in college. But it's really hard to put up the stats that Myles Brennan put up in Mississippi and what he did in his first 3 games. And yes, he did have Terrace Marshall, who was on fire, but the pass protection wasn't necessarily the best. You look at some of the throws that Myles Brennan made in that Mississippi State game and Missouri game, there was some pressure on some of them. And, he was still able to deliver a good ball. And, if you were a Myles Brennan fan and you're watching this, the one thing that you could hold your hat on is the one statistic that determines more college football plays and college football games more than anything else are explosive plays down the field. And if you want to judge the 2 quarterbacks, Myles Brennan and Max Johnson, when it comes to explosive throws down the field, there is no comparison. Myles Brennan is a far better quarterback when it comes to that. Now, of course, Max made a lot of plays down the field as well, but a lot of those were to just one person. And Myles Brennan, a lot of his throws were to Terrace Marshall, but he also had some deep shots to Eric Gilbert, and he had some deep shots to Jure Jenkins. So, yeah, it's very interesting, Big Al, that you bring that up. And Trey, I know you're a big Myles Brennan fan, and yeah, a lot of you love Myles and the fact that, he went through all this. So, yeah, it's going to come down to what Jake Peetz values. As a play caller, you could do a little bit more in the run game with Max. But yeah, I mean, Miles is very interesting. I also think something that could help out Miles and TJ at their next stop is to put him under center. Miles played under center a lot in high school, or some. And TJ, it'd be interesting to see him play under center at the college level. Paris, what's good? Everyone, welcome Paris to the chat. Wait, why is everybody going after Kane? Guys, you got to understand. I don't like it when LSU chats get to where, some fans just are really skeptical. I guarantee you every one of you 46 are a diehard LSU fan. Maybe I know FFYM was here a minute ago. He's a Bama fan. But I would say 90% of you are LSU fans, okay? It's okay if one LSU fan is skeptical about next season. A lot of you, especially, some of our older viewers, were skeptical during some of those Charlie McClendon years. It's okay if you're skeptical. Now, I'm not as skeptical as maybe Kane is. There's obviously some things that concern me, but still. Exactly, Go Tigers. I love that name, Go Tigers. Just very simple. Yeah, you got to be able to push that football down the field. And Miles, Miles is definitely the best. Jared just sent me a that's so cool, Jared. Yes, we had to have a puppy to show the live stream. I'm telling you, Boog would love that, Jared. My booger. That's okay. This is cool what Jared just sent me. That's cool, man. There. Look at that. On the big screen with the family. I love it, Jared. That's a good LSU family right there. And you got the live chat on the side. I like that, man. Wait, Plum, what are you doing in Montana? So, Trey, that's a great question. Because this is where you can become a little bit more skeptical of Miles Brennan's high school statistics. Now, like I said earlier, there was that one stat study that I looked at last week that showed a high correlation with high school football success and NFL football success, more so than even your college success. Like Patrick Mahomes was beyond prolific in high school, Deshaun Watson. And a lot of the LSU quarterbacks that ended up being bad were ironically bad in actual high school games, okay? I'll save that for another video. However, Trey, that is a great question because if you look at Miles Brennan's high school stats, he was actually a good runner. He actually put up some decent rushing numbers. So, yeah, you look at Miles Brennan, he's not that fast. I think his high school 40 was like 4.99, which obviously isn't that great. There's some offensive linemen that run that. But, yeah, he's got – especially, Trey, if you're going to run out of shotgun. The difference is Max Johnson does enough as a runner to hold a defensive end and pull the ball. But here's the thing, Trey. I don't know why LSU, and this would be my one criticism of Steve Ensminger's play calling with Miles. Overall, his play calling with Miles was good outside of the third down. Obviously, against Missouri, we were 0 for 10, and the and goal situations, we weren't that good either. But that was more Scott Linehan. That's what he got paid $800,000 a year to do, and he didn't do a good job of it. But Miles just needs to show that he can pull the ball and run it, which obviously is a risk now with this injury history. But, that's basically it, Trey. Miles showed better pocket mobility against Vanderbilt and Missouri. I know LSU hit that hard after the Mississippi State game. But, yeah, he's got to show something as a runner. You look at the LSU national championship teams. Well, our national championship teams were quarterbacked by guys that weren't elite runners, but were really good when they needed to be. Matt Flynn was a sneaky good runner. I know that's cliche for a quarterback like Matt Flynn, sneaky good, but he was sneaky good. and making big runs when we needed them to. And Joe Burrow, I've said this 1,000 times, if Joe Burrow ran a 40 after college, obviously he won't be as fast now until he's fully healthy. I think Joe Burrow would have run 4.6, 4.7. If you actually watch Joe Burrow's running, it's pretty wild. There was one play in the national championship game where Joe Burrow beat Isaiah Simmons to the first down marker. And Isaiah Simmons, as many of you know, was a freak in college. So, yeah, I mean, obviously Max is not that level of an athlete, but he does have some running ability to his game. Myles just doesn't have it. But the one thing he does have is a cannon. So we'll see. Yeah, Met did not have sneaky good legs. Go Tiger says, I didn't see Myles' mobility being in the top 10 reasons for us going 1 and 2 in the first 3 games. Yeah, I agree with that to a certain degree. Ron G says, I'm not skeptical at all. I'm ready to go. Auburn fires great coaches? Yes. I just think Gus Malzahn hiring Chad Morris, I don't understand how we didn't collectively, as a country, didn't rejoice when that happened. Let's see. Oh, look at that. That's cool, Big Al. That's dope, man. That's cool. That makes me happy, Big Al. Getting to go to the grandkids' graduation. That's dope, man. That's always good, man. I've always been told there's nothing quite like grandkids. That's cool stuff, man. Whoever is more accurate wins the job. Let me see. What did the shirt say? Let me see. LSU, yeah, that's dope, man. Huh? Love that, Big Al. Come on, dance with me. You, moonlight, you're my. That Dua Lipa song slaps. I don't care what y'all say. Huh? Greek, you haven't gotten your shirt in the mail yet? Well, we need to change that. It should be coming in the next few days. Ron, yes, I've been honest for this the whole time. I've been working on a Garrett Nussmeier deep dive. So I've not watched a second of Pig's footage. So, Ron, I don't want to speak on it unless, I've actually looked into it. But obviously, I'm really excited. Anytime you get another defensive player to add to your defense. Obviously, the Darren Evans thing doesn't look like it's going to work out. I hope he has a big year, big bounce back. So yeah. Look at Trey. I love it. And look, if you do get a shirt, I will put y'all on the channel if you get a shirt, if you let me, obviously. Oh, Kane's just coming out of nowhere with a Beastie Boys hot take. Huh? Mark, are you a no, Mark, you're not an Auburn guy. But why are we talking about the Beastie Boys? Why is everyone talking about the Beastie Boys? King Ulysses makes a good point, though. Whoever's more accurate wins the job. King, how's the move going? Mark's War Eagle. I love it. I don't love it. Let's see. Greatest Auburn grads of all time. Obviously, Bo Jackson, Charles Barkley. But The greatest Auburn athlete of all time is neither one of them. And it's not Cam Newton. It is none other than Cadillac Williams. Because if your name is Cadillac Williams, you deserve that title. Because here's what happens with people with basic last names like Williams and all that. If you have a last name like Williams or Smith or Jackson or Johnson, you don't want to give them a basic name. You want to give them a cool name. And Cadillac Williams rolls off the tongue, kind of like Booby Miles rolls off the tongue. It just feels right. Now, I understand Auburn has a running back named Tank, which is really cool. Tank Bigsby is a great name. But Cadillac Williams, you heard it here first, the greatest Auburn athlete of all time. And Takeo Spikes. Bo knows. Diesel Collins. Yeah, that's great. Let's go. Cecil. I love it, man. I love it. Oh, man. Ooh, 2 weeks to closing and then no more ramen noodles. I appreciate you, Mark. I really do, man. Thanks for supporting my content. Man, you've been hanging out for a while. Yeah, Takeo Spikes. Auburn's linebackers have been sneaky good. Takeo Spikes, and then Josh Bynes, was that his name? He was a good player. But yeah, Auburn's some great linebacker coaching, and then they get rid of T. Will. Really? I was kind of on the T. Will to LSU train, but I'm fine with Blake Baker. Circumference. Oh, man, that's great. Well, all right, guys, we're at 2:11. Haley did cook a salmon masterpiece, so we might be ending this thing. But as she always says, I know a lot of you get bummed out because you want to just keep going, and I'm fine with keeping going. But if we get super chats, if we get some Venmos, or if we get some T-shirt sales, I don't think we've sold any T-shirts tonight, which kind of sucks. But if we get those, we will happily keep this train moving. And it doesn't even have to be anything spectacular. It'd be a little $5 or whatever. Patrick Queen and Devin White. Those are good names. Patrick Queen, man. Love it. Love me some PQ from the New Roads area. I love that, man. Let's see. Haley's been rocking out to a lot of Stevie Nicks lately. And I just learned Stevie Nicks was Fleetwood Mac. I don't know why, but Haley knows way more about music than I do. Plum, you still haven't answered me why you're in Montana. Yeah, Pacific Northwest. Let's see. Jared, you ordered a shirt, obviously. Oh my God, Jared, this photo of Dilly is even better. I love this dog. Jared, this photo of Dilly is just fantastic. I'm going to show this to Haley. She's going to be like, oh. Glacier National Park. So, Plum is dedicated to us when he is at Glacier National Park and hanging out with us. That's great, Plum. That is absolutely great. All for you, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course we'll keep it going. Let's see. Let's pick a topic here. Can't see how the line opens up -3 for UCLA. How dare they? Yeah, look. It's a road game. UCLA, this is one of their most talented teams. They are like us in many ways that they don't return a lot of elite guys, but they return a lot of really good players, and they do return their starting quarterback, the Dorial Green. I don't remember his full name. I almost said Dorial Green Beckham, the wide receiver that went to Missouri. What is the kid's name? Anyway, where's number 1? And he's a dual threat quarterback for UCLA. Is he a special runner? No. Is he a special quarterback? Not really, but he was a 4 or 5 star. He was an elite recruit. So, yeah, we got to be ready. And look, this is a big year for Chip Kelly. And, it can be tricky. Think about all the, crazy offensive minds Durante Jones will be going up against. He's going up against Chip Kelly and Dan Mullen and Mike Leach and Lane Kiffin and Kendall Briles and on and on and on. Bill O'Brien, who when he was just an offensive coordinator was really good. So yeah, it's wild. King Alyssa has already placed his bet, -3 on LSU. Well, you look historically, LSU's pretty good at these neutral site season openers against Power Fives. Of course, they didn't have that in 2019. They didn't have it in 2020, obviously. And 2018, though, that was the last neutral site Power Five, even though this is not a neutral site. It is at the Rose Bowl in UCLA. But then again, it's UCLA football. How many fans are they going to have at that game? Maybe a lot, maybe a little. Obviously, a lot of that depends on a lot of that obviously depends on how well UCLA does in their first game against the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors. So there might be some value in taking LSU +3 right now, because if for some reason UCLA loses that first game, the line is obviously going to flip -3 LSU. And Hawaii has a lot of positive momentum going into this offseason. Look, Hawaii destroyed Houston in the bowl game last season, and they're just a good program. And obviously, Hawaii is going to be playing for a lot. Hawaii lost their greatest football player of all time to a tragedy this offseason. So be ready. UCLA better be ready for the Rainbow Warriors. JJ, this is so funny. Super chatting for Jared since his wife's watching. Oh man, Jared says, if we get an extra ticket to UCLA, are you in, Carter? So here's the thing, Jared, and this is how I would respond to that. Jared, I would feel really selfish about that, because I have been to the Rose Bowl, and I would rather that ticket, Jared, go to someone who has never gotten to go to the Rose Bowl. It is so cool. It really is so cool. And it could just be that I was at an actual Rose Bowl, and it was the last Rose Bowl, the 2019 Rose Bowl. And I got to go to the parade, and I got to go to the game. And yeah, I mean, I really don't know how to describe it. I mean, I'm at a loss for words. The Rose Bowl is like one of the coolest places to go. Now, obviously, I got lucky that I got to go to the Rose Bowl, and it was a perfect weather day, and I got to see the sunset and the confetti and the pomp and circumstance. You know what's funny? I thought it was going to be a bunch of cheesy BS, and I was actually covering a different game. But I had called my boss at the time and said, you know what, I would really like to go to a Rose Bowl just to see what all the hype is about. So I went, and I got to cover the game, and I saw Chris Carter and Eddie George. I got to talk to both of them before the game, which was really cool. And I grew up watching those guys, even though they're Ohio State Buckeyes, but still. And even though I have no care in the world for Ohio State or Washington, that was still the coolest college football experience ever. And, this could be a bucket list item. I know LSU was rumored for Rose Bowls many years ago, but if the game remains in Pasadena, obviously we're in this weird time, whether, are things going to get pushed back? Are they going to allow fans in? Obviously, travel with caution if that's your thing. But man, dude, I'm telling you, it's pretty special. It's hard to explain. Tell your wife we're going. Jared says, wife said I'm not going, but she don't know the facts. I'll find. But here's the thing, Jared, since you're watching on the big screen and you got little Dilly walking around, I wouldn't get everyone too mad, because look, there's 1,000 things you could be watching on a Saturday night, and you chose me. And I know your wife and your family's probably wanting you to put something else on. I don't know, Moana or whatever. I don't know why I chose that movie. But but yeah, the Rose Bowl special. Yeah, King, it is the closest game for you. How far is that drive, though, Denver to Pasadena? Denver to Pasadena is probably like, what, a 12 or 13 hour? Creek, I love it, man. Quoting The Godfather. Give her an offer you can't refuse. I'll never try and be Marlon Brando again, but that's one of my favorite lines of all time. And I am going to be cliche. The Godfather is top 5 movie of all time. I'm going to be that guy. And you guys know I am not cliche. I hate cliches, but or just common thought. But The Godfather lives up to hype, and it exceeds hype. An offer she can't refuse. Second best line in the movie. First, the best line. Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes. There's just so much iconic stuff from those films. It's really wild. It's really wild. Wife's outside. So Jared's wife just couldn't take the LSU talk anymore. She was like, okay, look, this guy's ridiculous. He's got more gray hair than any other 30-year-old I've ever seen. He's wearing a shirt with a tiger print on it. This is ridiculous. And we got him naming our dogs now? But Jared, thanks for the UCLA ticket offer, man. That was really nice. But I would feel guilty going. I do think, because this gives you an excuse to go to the stadium, and it's older. It's all one bowl, and it's not like Tiger Stadium that has all these different sections, which of course makes Tiger Stadium fun. But that's how most stadiums are. It's just one of these old school bowls. JJ, stop. No, it's not. Lost is not one of the greatest shows of all time. And the funny thing is I watched the first episode of Lost and I watched the last episode of Lost. The reason why Lost was good is the same reason why Friends was good. It was good because there weren't many shows out there at the time. And that's why Lost was good. It wasn't that great of a show. It was a byproduct of an era. Now, there are some shows that were good when there wasn't competition. I know a lot of you are MASH fans because I've gotten the Major Burns joke 1,000 times, but I've never watched an episode of MASH, so I don't know if it's good or not. But like Seinfeld, I don't watch much TV, but Seinfeld's great. And it was great when there wasn't a lot of competition. But there was a show like Friends. If Friends was a show now, there would be no one that watched. And I love Jennifer Aniston and all those things. Lost is kind of the same way. Lost was on ABC Primetime, which was pre-Netflix, pre-Hulu, pre-Discovery Plus, pre-TikTok, pre-YouTube apps on all TVs. Lost was a byproduct of its time. And, it just wasn't that great. It just was not that great. ABC's had 1,000 more shows better than that, some of which aren't dramas. ABC's got other shows that are better. Blackish, Modern Family, the Goldbergs or whatever. But the Lost, come on, JJ. JJ, you got better taste than that. Oh, Mark, come on. Mark, are you kidding me? And then, you want to talk TV. Breaking Bad's the greatest show of all time. There will never be anything that touches that. There are other great shows. There are other great shows out there. Okay. But, you got to give more credence to shows like Breaking Bad and The Wire and Game of Thrones when HBO and shows kind of became a bigger thing and there was just more competition. So now, if you have a great show, you got to cut through a lot of BS to get people's attention, because now you got people like me who, pops out a live stream. I only have 54 people. Lost has millions that watched it. So, Lost is probably laughing at me, or whoever the actors were on Lost. I can't name one actor on that show. It's just, oh, JJ, me, you, and Haley, our steak dinner in Shreveport. JJ, we've got to do the steak dinner, JJ, before the season begins. So I'll get with Haley and we'll figure out a night, and we'll come down to Shreveport and come eat some steaks with you, man. Was it Mr. Big Boy for Life? Yeah, The Wire was, groundbreaking. Granted, I've never seen it. So I can't say if The Wire was good or bad. But a lot of people that have similar taste to what I like also like The Wire. But then, you get into shows that were very culturally significant. So like Fresh Prince was that. Martin was that. So then, you're getting into comedies and all of that. But yeah, it's different. Like, for instance, my roommates, when I was at LSU, we had a VCR. I know, crazy. We had a VCR, and dude, they would just watch Martin tapes all day, and it was a good show. Martin was great. It was great. Yeah. I met one of the actors on Martin about a year and a half ago. But yeah, it's wild. I'm a little biased. Martin Lawrence did let one of my friends open up for him at an arena show a few years ago. So I'm always forever grateful for Martin giving opportunities to younger comics to get an opportunity of a lifetime. Yeah, Martin was groundbreaking. And then you have Jamie Foxx show. So yeah. And then you get into In Living Color and all these different shows, whatever. I didn't think we talked TV. But to be honest, I can't really. I'm not Alan Sepinwall. I'm not someone that's an actual TV critic. Matt, I forget his last name. I was with school with them. He was the #1 TV critic at HuffPost. He's not there anymore. Crap. He could speak on this way better than I could. So, I don't watch much TV. I did watch Breaking Bad. I don't think any show will ever touch Breaking Bad. I just don't. I just don't. It was a perfect show. And on top of that, I did go to Albuquerque, New Mexico for a show. And when I wasn't on stage, I was telling my friend Cam to drive me to all the Breaking Bad locations. So you could drive by the houses where they filmed the show. And you can go to the car wash and you can do all these things. So that trail will never be beaten for me. And part of that is because I just don't sit and watch TV anymore. I did watch Ted Lasso. But yeah, I mean, a show like Friends just wouldn't succeed today. It just wouldn't be that good. I've tried to watch Friends. I've tried to watch Big Bang Theory and all these shows that are huge. I know Said the Entertainer had one that was pretty big that got renewed recently. But it's just, I don't know. It's just something I can't get into. King of Queens, all those things. It's just too tough. Sopranos was good. Yeah, Martin and Fresh Prince. Yeah, that was the next level. I Need Lotion. Living Single. Never seen Living Single. But yeah, it's Martin to me was really groundbreaking though. I really do think so. Simply because I saw how much it meant to, some roommates that were from a different part of the country than I was. And dude, that's all they would watch. They wouldn't watch sports, and they were athletes. They were high school, college athletes. They wouldn't watch sports. They would want to watch Martin all day, and it's wild. It is wild how big that show was. Power was good. Walking Dead, yeah. R.I.P. Uncle Phil. You know what, Kane? I've actually read that take before, and I digress to you on this. That after seasons 1 and 2. Let's see. I think I have a photo. Let's see. Crap. Here, if you're a Martin fan, here I am with Carl Payne right here. There you go. I've never actually seen Carl do stand-up. He was just hanging out at a club my buddy owns. And I stopped by and saw him on my way out of town. And I'd love to see him on stage. I've had a lot of friends open for him now. So Trey. But Carl was a really cool dude. Boardwalk Empire was good, man. Nucky Thompson. I actually did like Boardwalk. There's a lot of good actors in that. The guy that starred in Waco, crap, what's his name? I didn't watch but one episode of Waco. Crap, he's a really good actor. He's got a actor face. I don't know how to explain it. Yeah, I know. DRC was deep. Nothing will ever beat on that show. The bungee jumping incident. Nothing will ever beat that. Nothing will ever beat that aspect of the show. There is never a holy, you know what moment than that. I was like, oh my god. Oh, Seth, what's good? What do you think about LSU football news posting a pic of Eric Gilbert? Here's my take on it, and we touched on AG2, I think, in the last stream from earlier tonight. Just not a big deal to me until something official is announced. I think you'll drive yourself nuts if you keep speculating about what's going to happen next with Eric Gilbert. And Seth is talking about a non-official LSU account, which is fine. I'm also a non-official LSU account as well. But until LSU football, and I'm always like this for most stuff anyway, until LSU football says something, I'm not ready to just jump and do 1,000 videos about it. Jared, I'm a Gaga fan. Haley's an actual Gaga fan, but I like Gaga. Let's see. All right, Trey, we'll see you, man. Hang on, Mr. Cooper. There you go. All right, guys, I might sign off here in just a bit. Haley has been very patient, waiting on me to eat some salmon. But once again, as she always says, if we get another super chat in the next 5 minutes, I will happily keep this thing going. He's rooming with BJ. That's his mentor. That's all I know. So Ron is actually, he actually knows a little bit about Eric Gilbert more than most of us do. So yeah, I think, I did an Eric Gilbert video on Monday, but that was more to do with him as a player and not so much the speculation. But yeah, no DRC. Trust me, this the super chats. They, I'm not gonna lie, they help keep the lights on. I'll put it at that. What's funny is the way it works is Google pays all their creators on the 21st, and let me check to see if it's hit or not. Sometimes it takes a while for it to get there. So let's hope it's hit. It is not hit yet. So there you go, Jared. I appreciate that. Someone cash app Ron. We need details. JJ, I'm going to be as honest as I possibly can. Hopefully you... Kane, you son of a gun. Trying to get me demonetized with some good old wordplay there. I love that, man. A Mark Norman wordplay. If you want to talk comedy. Comedy. Look, JJ, I'm gonna be honest, and I'll speak on behalf for Ron. I don't know what Ron knows about Eric Gilbert, but I'll tell you this. I know we're all dying to know what actually is the deal with Eric Gilbert as far as playing next season. It's just not healthy. It is not healthy for your psyche because that young man probably doesn't know what's going to happen next for him either. I think we're kind of in limbo trying to figure out how this actually works. Opting out, entering the transfer portal, committing to Florida. So here's the thing. What did Eric Gilbert say to Florida? Because here's the thing. I guess if you're entering the transfer portal, you're allowed to contact other schools. However, if that's the case, does it count against your 25 or 26 or whatever? Man, it just gets really weird. And there are rumors of eligibility requirements. I've always said this. I don't dive deep into academics. I don't like talking about anyone's academics unless it's just really common knowledge. So, yeah, it's a complex situation. And honestly, if I worked in LSU compliance, this is something pretty unprecedented. Because is there any violation? Did Eric, and these are things we don't know, did Eric sign any paperwork over to Florida? Did he contact Dan Mullen? What's going on? We do know this. We do know he's met with Ed Orgeron. We do know he's met with the coaching staff and LSU officials. And we do know there's mutual interest. We also know that he's probably not going to wear jersey number 2 next season if he is even allowed to play. Alan, what's up, man? Let's see. Yeah, Al, unfortunately, that is a part of Tyrann Matthews' legacy. And, he never signed any papers as far as that goes. So I trust Ron G knowing that because he is knowledgeable about the situation. That's the thing, Big Al. This phrase will always be true. Your best ability is availability. And unfortunately, part of Tyrann Matthews' legacy is the 2012 thing. And part of his legacy was during the 2011 season. Yes, we beat the crap out of Auburn, but during the middle of a national championship season, he was suspended for whatever reason. We don't know officially, violation of team rules. And, I'm very passionate about Tyrann Mathieu. I collect his rookie cards. He means a lot to me. He's a big reason why LSU is the brand they are now. He's donated a lot of money to the university. He's obviously donated a lot of his money back to New Orleans. probably not a more philanthropic LSU player than him. But he would be the first to tell you that, he's ashamed that part of his legacy was letting his teammates down during the 2011 run and in 2012, because Tyrann Mathieu was our best offensive weapon in 2011, and he didn't even play offense. And in 2012, when you don't have that, and the offense was still being quarterbacked by, that was Mets' first season, but when you don't have that leader, and everyone that played with Tyrann Mathieu always talked about his leadership, well, it wasn't there, and it sucks. It sucks. But, once again, it's not up to me to forgive him, but obviously I forgive him. He did far more positive than negative things, but yeah, and the same thing's true with Eric Gilbert. If he goes on to have a very successful LSU career and he's a first round pick in the NFL and he donates money and all those things, yeah, of course, as LSU fans will forgive him and welcome him back. But unfortunately, part of your legacy is when we really needed you, you said bye. And what we pointed out in the film study on Monday, we showed you how much Cole Taylor struggled because as a 3-star with a very slender frame, he was not ready to go up against grown men. And it almost cost us. Cole, of course, the shoe, but he put Cole Taylor in a bad spot. Cole Taylor was not ready to play, and it showed. It showed on the tape. So yes, we won those 2 games, but yeah, it's just a reality. Now, once again, if you wear the purple and gold, I love you, but I try to be honest about every situation I possibly can. And the beauty of college football, and it is a really big beauty of college football, is that, and we talked about this earlier when Marcus super chatted about the college football playoff, because each and every game matters so much, your availability on a week-to-week basis matters that much more. And being available matters that much more. So if you go back to the 2011 team, for instance, well, we were lucky that we had Derek Bryant, who stepped up big in that Auburn game for us. But more notably, we had Ron Brooks, who was a beast on that 2011 team. So yeah, it's complex. It's how do we judge those things? It's tough, and I hate to talk about it. There's a lot of challenges to being a college athlete. Yes, DRC. I get most of the players do. And look, I don't do it, but I'm for it. If people want to do it, they can do it. And that might get me demonetized talking about that, but so be it. It's a part of LSU football. It's a part of football in general. Gray Fox. Yes, sir. All right, guys. Let's I'll give it 5 more minutes. Guys, thank you so much. Once again, I know JJ asked about the t-shirt link. I'm going to drop it down again. Once again, sorry about the technical difficulties from earlier. Boom. There's a t-shirt. If you want to support us, that is one of the best ways you can do it, is buying a shirt. Let's see. We're going ahead and get you one of those. And we'll see you Tuesday night, next live stream at 5:30 at 7 Central. Our next video, though, will be 5:30 Central on Monday. And we have more wide receiver content coming up. We've got some Garrett Nussmeier content. So if you haven't already subscribed, and if you cannot donate to this independent creator right here, the best thing you can do is, and I really do mean this, Share this channel with someone that is a diehard LSU football fan. Don't share it with someone that doesn't live and breathe, because here on this channel, it's not a passion, it's a lifestyle. You got to really love this team to really like what we do. And, that's why I said it's not for everyone. It's for people that love diehard LSU football analysis. So we'll see you Monday, 5:30. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. Shout out to Dilly the dog. And we are having salmon tonight. Let's go. What a stream.